on the cloud. All right, good. Was able to get the recording in. Okay. Let me open this up large. And we'll get ready to share my screen. Y'all know I had to create a presentation. Y'all know Madame loves a good prez. So I have to share it. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm gonna give it about 2 more minutes so some more people can join in, okay? I see some familiar faces. Hey, Minty, for joining in. Hey, Princess Educator, for joining in. It looks like I have a new person into the group. Good morning. All right, let's see. Hopefully it tells me. Wow, no. Okay. All right, guys, so let me admit her in. And if you guys do get kicked back out, just hit the wanna join in, and I should see it pop up and let you guys right back in the room. Okay. Thank you, Precious Pumpkins, for joining in. All right, guys, so I'm going to get started. Okay, so welcome. This is the Educated Minds University Childcare Workshop. You guys know I love to always try to give you guys some good love, good energy, some good gems, as I know many of you are either seasoned childcare providers, startup childcare providers, or aspiring childcare providers, kind of wanting to know what is it and what is it that I do, okay? So I put together this really, really nice workshop for you guys. This is our second free workshop. So last workshop, I did not have no childcare startup, but this time I've decided to add some childcare startup in there for my startup mentees and community. I know you guys are always asking good questions, okay? So let's dive in. So if anyone is new here to the Educated Minds community, whether you are a startup, already a mentee through our mentorship program, I am Dominique Ellis. I love to call myself a childcare mentor because I love to motivate and inspire just women in general that love and want to either A, have a passion for childcare, B, maybe they was born and raised in it like how I was, or maybe C, you're just very interested and you kind of want to know what it's about, okay? So I love to just inspire, but not just inspire, I really love to motivate and share my experience with you guys because being a childcare entrepreneur is crazy. So I have a little bit of experience being a co-owner. If many of you guys do not know, my partner is my mother. So she started our childcare program when I was 3 years old, and now I'm 30. So we went from family childcare to multi-site childcare programs, and now we are similar to like a Head Start program, which is a pre-K program. I am a CDA verification specialist, so I also love to go out and kind of do those observations for our new people in the field that wants to get their CDA and things of that nature. And I have a little bit of experience with a BA in early childhood, a MED in early childhood, and then a teaching certification. So I was a kindergarten teacher for a year, guys, but it just was not for me. Being in the 9 to 5, it just was not for me. And I really wanted to have a little bit more freedom and kind of share our experiences. So I decided to join the family business that way. Okay, so our workshop agenda for today, we're going to talk about what I love to teach from, and that is the 3-part framework, okay? So in that 3-part framework, everything that makes up a childcare program really is your classrooms, your finance, and your organization. That's really truly what makes up your program, because those are the main basic 3 areas that you have in your childcare program to keep you overall organized and overall a profitable childcare program. So today I'm going to dibble and dabble. We're going to start out with the childcare startup. So anyone that's on here, if you guys are startup or thinking about startup, you could give me a thumbs up. You can give me, some of them have like them little emoji icons I be seeing on there. So yep, I have some startups in here. We are also going to talk about the actual, if you are a current childcare provider, or if you are a new, like when I say startup, I mean, your doors are already open, your license. So we're going to talk about 3 areas of classroom finance and organization. We're going to have a little question and answer session. I'm going to share with you guys the 2 different mentorship programs that there are available. And then we're going to do a little question and answer session again. Okay. So that's kind of what our workshop agenda will look like. So for any of my startup people out there, I really wanted to give you guys the full understanding of the things you want to really, really consider, right? And this may not be every single thing on the list, because any business, there's going to be so many things that you don't know, right? But I really wanted to try to give you guys like a mini understanding on when you think of childcare startup, because we've opened up like 4 location sites, and for the first location site, we've had a budget of $50,000 and drained the bank account before we actually got our doors open, like a month with like, and when I say drain, $2,000 left is a drainage, right? And then we started by our 4th location site with only a $15,000 budget, and we were able to, get the doors actually open. So there were so many mistakes and lessons learned, that both my mom and I learned financially, marketing, license and inspection, all that great good stuff. So I wanted to give you guys, if you guys got your pens out, some notes, all that great good stuff, please write some things down, okay? So one of the first things you really, really want to think about is your licensing requirements, okay? And when I say licensing requirements, so many people, they skip over that step under what the licensing requirement is, because that plays a major role in your budget. And that plays a major role in the startup, because then, ideally you may think you want to start a center, but your coins is not right. Your money is not right. Your revenue, your funding is not necessarily right. So you may have to take a smaller route. Then some people don't understand the difference. And when I say licenses, that's like, what type of program do you want? Do you want a family? Do you want a group? Do you want a small group, or a large center, as some of the other states call it? Or do you want a full-fledged center, right? And so centers can go anywhere. I have some clients that have centers to up to 90 capacity, and I have some clients that have centers up to 20 capacity, right? So it's really that capacity, and you want to think about what size before you do anything else. You also want to think about choosing your location. And so one of the reasons why that's highlighted is because that's the topic we're going to dive into today. I got a lot of great feedback from you guys, giving me the information and things that you're struggling with and wondering when you're thinking about startups. So choosing the location was at that top, like 3. That was like a common thing I seen you guys put. So we're going to talk about that today. Your business plan. So one of the things I know people are like, oh, I waste my time creating a business plan, but you don't, because the areas that's in the business plan really, really get you focused and allow you to tunnel in when you're thinking about the what, the why, the how, and what I need. And more importantly, you're going to need it when it comes to funding for any of those commercialized banking systems, okay? Your program layout. So when I say program layout, that's, what do you want your center to look like? Do you want to have a foyer area? Do you want to have your classrooms more to the front, to the back? Where do you want your kitchen area to be? Where do you want, like, where your employees will have their personal space, and all of those things? You want to think about your business profile. And when I say business profile, that is everything under the sun. So your EIN, your state licensing, your city licensing, your actual credit profile. Many people so many times forget. That's like one of the biggest things you guys really want to begin to look at and focus in is the credit and the business credit, and really trying to make sure that your personal credit can be in alignment and a personal guarantor for your business credit, even with just basic lines of credit. So you really, really want to think about positioning your business to look like a business on paper, well before you actually physically get your doors, because the time ticks on your EIN from the day that you actually get it filed and it's approved. Not from the day that you thought about the idea, not from the day your doors actually open, but your business exists legally and paperwork wise and funding wise, not by the day that it was a side hustle, but by the day that's on that paper. And I'm telling you guys, that is truly what has made him broken. That's not even real words, but that really is truly one of the ways that several of my clients that were in our mentorship group from the first class we had in March, because they may have started their building and, got their facility open, they missed that marker for that PPP. They missed that marker for the SBA because the LLC paperwork was not filed in accordance with the timeline on when you would have been eligible for those grants and loans, right? So these are all things you want to think about when you're planning out your program. You want to think about your startup budget, okay? So are you going to be a medium? Are you going to be small? Are you going to be large? Are you going to think about your budget in the aspect of credit cards, lines of credit? Are you going to just do your savings, right? Are you going to get angel investors? Are you going to have a partnership? That's one of the biggest, that's literally like probably one of the biggest questions I always get on any of our like childcare startup series discovery calls is, should I get a partner? Should I trust someone with joint bank accounts? Should I trust someone, for an idea or a dream that I have? Because I have that fear that maybe it's not going to work out and I got to start from scratch, right? So you really want to think about your funding and what's that going to look like for you. Another thing you want to think about is the license and inspection. If I have any of my mentees on here, please give a thumbs up if you guys have known and going through the license and inspection and how long it takes, especially if your child care program that you decide to go with, like the building is not already CO'd as a child care program. It takes longer, or it could potentially take longer depending on your county, right? So I'm a child care provider in Philadelphia, which is like an inner city, metropolitan city. And so because there's so many child care programs opening up all the time, when we had our one building, we opened in like 4 or 5 months. And one of our other locations where I said we drained the bank account, it took us almost a year to physically get that building open because the building was not already zoned and licensed as a previous childcare provider. So the neighborhood, the community, want to make sure that this is something that's going to be a need for the community and all of that good stuff that goes into it. So you want to think about that when you are shopping. Your health inspection. So, people think that, and especially if you already work in a childcare center, I know I have a lot of my startups that you guys are currently teachers. And I know that that's like a big one. So thinking about your health inspection. So, your commercialized refrigerator, all of your commercialized appliances that you will need, thinking about your fire and safety and your health and safety and all that stuff you have to do, because these are licensing agencies, guys, that you have to go through before your doors open. And so if you have to go through these agencies before your doors open, that means that you need to know what you need to get prepared for those inspections, because it's almost like a timeline. Truly, if one inspection is not right, like if your license and inspection is not right, you can't go to your health. If your health is not passed and right, you can't go to your main state agency, because they need those sign off and approval notices that you've went through those several steps. So all of those things are important. Purchasing your furniture, right? So some people ask, should I purchase furniture before I get my building? Should I wait to purchase my furniture? What to purchase? That's really where you want to think about your budget, right? And how much I'm going to spend on what? So am I going to spend, $10,000 in reno, another $10,000 in, between furniture and appliances? Like, what is your budget? And more importantly, where are you going to spend the money? But the furniture is one. And it doesn't just mean the toys, right? The toys and then in the shelf, and there's furniture that you need outside of for the children. So you want to think about what you're going to include in those factors. Your classroom setups. This is a really, really big one, because like I always be preaching, guys, on lives, how I always preach on any of the seminars and things like that, or any in the mentorship groups. You guys know your setup is everything. And your first time that client gets that walkthrough is everything. So making sure laying out your building and what you want your building to look like is super, super important. When you think about the layout. So do you want your baby classrooms to the front? Do you want your baby classrooms to the back? Are you going to allow any children under the age of 2 to go upstairs if it's a second floor? Is it zoned for children to go upstairs if it's a second floor? So all of those things you kind of want to think about. Your signage and your floor plans, right? So it doesn't matter whether it was already CO'd as a childcare center, you still need blueprints. You still need floor plans so you can know what the building and the layout looks like, because that goes down to the city, right? In a municipal building, no matter what city or state you're in. And many of the blueprints, especially if the building was already a daycare, those blueprints, they kind of float through an electronic system if your city has that type of like online system. But you know, the floor plans are something that's really, really key. And it's really great to have because I was even able to work with one of my mentees on designing that floor plan, right? So it's really, really good to have those floor plans. It's really, really good to have those blueprints, especially in the case of an emergency, like fires, right? So that's something you want to think about. Your signage, and this always goes with the marketing and the branding, guys. So your signage, not just for your banner, you know, or your awning or things like that, but I'm talking about your license and inspection signage. How do people get out the building? Your fire exit signs, your fire exit drawings. You know, you want to think about your daily schedules for your classroom. You want to think about your policies and your procedures for your staff that you're going to hire, even if it's family, because you want to treat your business like a business, right? So you want to think about your signage, and then what is your facility or your home going to look like on the outside so people can know who you are on the inside. So you really, really want to think about your signage. You want to think about, are you going to have banners? Are you going to have an awning? Are you going to do marketing? You know, like some programs, especially families, they will have signs down the street leading them to the actual facility. So you want to think about those things. And then you want to think about preparing for the initial inspection. And that's really the easy part, because once you, like, if you go through all those steps, you'll have everything that you need. You know, but you really, really want to think about preparing for it. And because the day that they come in, you have to be ready. Not that your building looks like this picture, you know, behind us, or that, you know, it's not ready, because the day that they leave is the day that you're licensed, or at least within those 48 hours, you get that certificate of compliance. So you have to truly, truly be ready, meaning that electrical outlets are covered, you have your diaper changing system, you know how to change those diapers, you have the sink next to the station. Like, you really want to make sure that these things are ready. And then you really, really want to have people truly in your corner and around you on that day of opening, because anything that can be fixed, you want to be fixed, right? So you really, really want to think about preparing for the inspection. So these are, you know, an overall abundance of some of the things that we talk about in the childcare series startup course, but really these are things you really, really want to consider when you're thinking about startup, okay? So the one we're going to dive into is choosing a location and things to consider when you are choosing that location. Okay. All right, let's see. So how to choose a location. And there are so many more other areas. This isn't like the golden one. But I just, you know, thought that these are the top 3 you really, really want to consider, because these go with money. And if anybody know me or any of my mentees that's on here know, yes, we all have children, but you guys want to open up a profitable childcare program. You guys want to be able to make money back from your program, and not just money that you would have made if you had a regular 9 to 5. You want to be able to make a 6-figure program. You want to be able to make a 5-figure program, you know, because it's going to become effortlessly to you. And you're going to have that freedom as the owner to either go to work, or you may not want to on that day. So it's not just that you love children, and yes, it's not just that you love a passion, but you want to recoup your money back from all the investment that you put out, okay? So the top 3 things I decided to do was going to be square footage, community considerations, and a lease or mortgage, okay? So when you think of square footage, you want to think of how many children can this building hold, right? And truly, before you even go look at buildings, you should know your ideal square footage, guys. And how would you know your ideal square footage? Is based upon your budget, okay? So if you have 3,000 square feet, your budget could be, you know, your rent could be in the 1,500s to 2,000s. You know, so you want to think about your budget, your rent. What are you willing to pay? What are you willing to afford to pay? And then when you think about square footage, you want to think about an aspects. Go to those childcare regulations and see, what is the square footage for an infant? What is the square footage for a toddler, young toddler, school age, and preschool? Okay, because that's how they're coming in with their measuring tape, giving you your capacity numbers, truly. So when you're shopping for buildings, you should already know, like, no, I cannot go past like $1,200 a month in rent. And the going rate in my area, my state, my city, this is those going rates when it comes to real estate and shopping for buildings in the childcare industry. Because I will share that Shopping for buildings in the childcare industry, I personally feel as though it's a little bit more opposed to other industries, right? Because I have other businesses, I have a barbershop. So shopping for the same square footage as one of my childcare programs was less money, because people sometimes think that that the childcare industry, and we know it is $1 million industry, so there could be, biases on that end. So you want to ask yourself, does this facility have a backyard, or does it have an indoor play space, right? So what does that look like? What does it have? Because that will take away from your square footage. Was this location already a childcare program beforehand? Think about that for license and inspection. Do you have access to the entire building? Because if you guys know, like in inner cities, or kind of like where buildings are next to, like right next to buildings and commercial quarters, you may not have access to the upstairs. You may not have access to the basement. And these are some things that you need to consider when you're thinking about your license and state regulations, okay? For your community considerations, guys, is this located on a main corridor, or is it an isolated area? And when I say a main corridor, I mean like I always say like a Broad Street, because I'm from Philly. So Broad Street is your place that you're gonna find businesses right next to businesses. It's busy traffic, it's 4-lane mini highways. Like, it's not a highway, but it's almost like a boulevard. It's very busy. It's at least 2 lanes up and 2 lanes down, okay? Or at least 1 lane up and 1 lane down, and it's businesses directly next to each other, okay? Does it have local elementary schools nearby, right? Because that's something that is super, super important, because that's automatic traffic. You want to think about, you don't want to be on the back block. You don't want to be on the back avenue. You don't want to be far where you're going to have to spend a lot of money in marketing. And I say that because my one location sites, like, we get walk-ins like all the time, but that's because it's a lot of businesses. I have a business on the left, business on the right. It's a lot of traffic, and there's 3 elementary schools. So that's something you really, really want to think about. Community partnerships, right? So you want to build those community partnerships with your bank, your library, your boards. Many neighborhoods have like neighborhood boards. You want to join those boards. You want to get out there. You want to build those relationships, because that brings you business. That brings you reputation, okay? You want to think about means of access when you're shopping for a building. Are there buses? Are there trains? Are there, well, not everybody has Lyft and Uber, but buses and a lot of drop-offs at bus stops mean business. People got to go to work. If there's work available, people need childcare. Okay, so you really, really want to think about that when you think about means of access. A lease or a mortgage, okay? I say that that's so open. There's so many different ways to start. We started out by mortgage, and we ended up the rest of our buildings by lease. So we have 2 buildings mortgage, 2 buildings lease. Okay, and we started out mortgage because you want to build that equity, you want to have those properties, you want to have that real estate under your belt. So you want to think about, is this a building I want to invest and have if I am financially positioned for that? Okay, and I definitely speak a lot more about that in the course, and even on one-on-ones with my clients when they're really thinking about what direction to go in. But I've had a client that expanded on her second location, and she got 6 months free for SBA loan, because we're in the middle of a pandemic right now. So you want to think about that when you're thinking about the times and the eras that you're in. You want to think about a 3 to 5 year lease, if you are going to go the route of a lease, okay? Because you do not want to sign a 1-year lease, guys, and then you look up and it takes you almost 9 months to get open, and now here go your landlord trying to raise the rate because he think you getting money, right? You don't want that. So you really, really want to try to stick to that 3-year or 5-year lease. Give yourself that time to grow your business. Give yourself that time to learn the business, especially as a new entrepreneur and even a new childcare owner, okay? You want to try to negotiate months for free upon deposits. I know people are like, oh, that don't work, madam. No, it works. I've done it with both of our lease buildings. And I've had clients that have done it with multiple of their properties, and it works. Now, I ain't say they was going to give, 8 months free, but I've gotten 3 months free on one building, and I've gotten the one building, it was vacant so long. The other guy gave me 6 months for free because I paid 4 times the rent up front. And many times landlords, because I'm a landlord, I have other properties outside of this. So, I want that cash capital because I put so much into the building to get it ready again. You know, so it's really on, you could always look for buildings that's been on the market for some time. And when I say time, I mean anything over 6 months because landlords are in the process to make money, you know, so you want to be able to bring them value for that. Okay. And then last but not least, your landlord responsibility. So making sure that landlords do not get over and that you look at your lease, you read your lease, you get a new set, a new fresh pair of eyes because they should be responsible for structural maintenance. Okay. And when I say structural, I always struggle with that word. But when I say structural maintenance, guys, I'm talking about, you know, the piping, the walls, the floors, the cracked cement outside of the building. You know, you want to think about those things because this is not my building. So I'm not fixing up your building the way that I would fix up my building if I owned it, because if I ever want to sell one of my daycares, if I ever want to lease one of my daycares, it'll be ready. You know, but many times landlords, they don't want to, you know, they want you to do all of the work. You know, and I'm just really, really, you know, big on like equality, you know, because at the end of the day, you're paying off someone else's mortgage. And I always say, remember that, right? And in order for us to grow and reach those levels of financial freedom, owning properties is always one of the great ways to build on our equity, build on our cash value, build on our net worth, and all of those great things, because you can always refinance your mortgages, okay? So those are just some tips and tools when you guys are thinking about how to choose a location in the startup space, okay? So I'm going to open up the floor for any questions on answers when it comes to childcare startup. Okay. So if anybody has any questions and answers when it comes to startup, please, you can take yourself off mute. I know it's like a lot of.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Just make sure you share your name, where you are from, and if you are in the startup space.
Okay. My name is Kristen. Hi, everyone. My startup business is called Precious Pumpkins Daycare.
Yes.
I am from Maryland, Baltimore, Maryland. And I've actually been viewing a couple different spots in Baltimore, trying to find a location. And I actually found one particular location that I really, really liked. Only thing is, in the bathroom area, they have the washing machine and the dryer in the bathroom. And I'm like, wait a minute. Will the licensing agency say no just because of that? Or does that need to be moved out? Can it stay in? And then
one of the things I would share with you is check your regulations, your state regulations. I do know centers that have their, you know, washer and dryer, because some people do a lot of in-house, especially for your infants in your toddler classroom, right? So they do a lot of in-house, you know, so you just want to make sure that they tell you where things can't be near. So like, for instance, if, and at least I know in Pennsylvania, they tell you in your regs that if you're going to consider it a kitchen, there cannot be a stove, because some people don't even have full-fledged kitchens in their daycares because their building's too small, and they know that they're going to have like a food program, so they don't get a oven or any of those things. But they tell you you cannot have like fire or an oven in a classroom. If you're going to have a kitchen, you can only have a refrigerator and some storage space on lock. So you really want to look at their regulations and see, is a washer and dryer permitted in an area that children will be in, because that's a bathroom, if that's a bathroom for children. So that would be one of my only tips that I would give you when you think about that as a thought process, or if you're able to move it and move the pipe in, just to relocate those washer and dryers if that's something you're not comfortable with, and that the landlord will allow you to do that.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have any other questions when it comes to startup? I will go back to the basic list, guys. So if you guys have any questions, let me know.
Hi.
Who am I? What's your name? Where you from?
Tania. My name's Tania. I'm from Maryland, also from Baltimore, Maryland.
In the house. Okay.
I'm debating if I want to be actually in the city limits or more so within like Baltimore County. But I'm currently a school teacher, so I'm going to be transitioning from working in special ed to having my own. And my biggest hurdle right now is funding. I'm like, do I want to use savings, or if I want to see if there are some other options out there for me. So I know the state of Maryland does have, I believe, like some grant money. And so I'm just so confused. Like, I'm at the very beginning stage. I've been thinking about this since I've probably been 16 in my childcare classroom. And now here I am in my early 30s. And I'm like,
I
enough
understand,
is
I
enough.
understand.
It's time.
So I always, guys, y'all know I keep it super real with y'all. Like I always say, you know, even for all businesses, right? There's always grants, there's always funds, you know, out there. And people will say, well, where is it, Ms. Dom? Right? Like, cause I say the same thing, where is it? You know, but one of the things is that I'm just a really big stickler on, yes, do your research. Yes, look to see what there is. Sometimes there could be just women only grants. You know, sometimes there can be inner city only grants. I've got a couple of those where you are specifically, you know, and that's one of the great things about choosing your location. You want to decide, and not just for now, because we're thinking about right now, but think about your business in the 5-year marker. Do you want to be in the inner city? Do you want to be like downtown? Do you want to be on the outskirts? Do you want to be on the suburbs? Because what you qualify for as a program, guys, when it comes to the early childhood funding in the nation, period, is given to, and I'm not going to say all, but y'all know I keep it real with y'all. It's usually typically given to at-risk programs, below level poverty programs, given to higher accreditation programs. You know, so you really, really want to think about where you want your business to be, but more importantly, try to have that mixture of funding, not just with your savings account. So for me, I always share that when it was time to open our third and fourth location, my mom is one of them people that, yes, I may work for the business. Yes, I've always been around it since I've been 16, very similar to you, probably since I've been like 10. But she was very big on, if you want to become partner, we become partners full blown financially. So that meant that for me, you know, leaving my kindergarten role, going into partnership with mom, I had to come in ready. I couldn't come in just like, oh, because you're my mom, let me join in and get some of this money. No. So I needed to figure out, I had to get my credit right, you know, because I knew that I wasn't going to have, you know, I wasn't going to have access to that money because I'm still living day to day or check to check, you know. So one of the things I decided to do was when I went back to get my master's degree, because I was struggling to get funding through banks and all of that stuff, on a personal level, because my credit was not in the sevens like we are now, right? Wasn't in that space almost 7-8 years ago. You know, so because I didn't have that, I decided to go back to school and get my master's degree, but I went back free through the daycare. And so I went back free through the daycare because I made sure that I made the daycare an accredited program first. And then I got my master's degree for free. So instead of me taking out a loan to fund my education was free. And I took my loan, and that's how we opened up 2 centers in 2 years.
Wow, sis, you sound just like me. Like I'm currently, I have 4 classes left before I complete my master's program. And yes. I said the exact same thing. I'm like, do I want to just go ahead and maybe take out a school loan? So when I graduate next spring, I'll have that extra funding.
Yes, and that was a really big thing for me because I know, you know, I was able to get my bachelor's for free, and I'm like, I'm definitely gonna get me a master's for free because it's so much out here for us as educators. And so I said, by the time I owe, you know, that loan that I'll take out, I won't owe it for 2 more years. Even though in your master's, they don't give you that 6-month stretch like they do with your bachelor's. I knew I was going to make back that $30,000 in my first year of business, you know, so that was just my mindset. And I also had credit cards and things like that. So when me and my mom opened up the business, I was able to have Lowe's lines of credit, Home Depot lines of credit, so that I can bring that value into that partnership, but also have the capital to spend when we were doing reno and all that good stuff.
Excellent. Good information. One last question. When I initially signed in, you were saying something about the PPP loan.
Oh, yeah. I was saying that, you know, your business as a startup, so many of my childcare startup series mentees, you know, that you wait until you get that LLC paperwork, or you kind of wait till you find your building, you know, to get the paperwork going. And you can always switch that, because at the end of the day, your childcare or your business, just forget that it's a childcare. Look at it as a business, right? Your business starts the day that it's on paper. And I said that because a lot of my mentees that were in my mentorship program, the class that just ended, they waited longer to get their LLC while they were in their building renovating, and they didn't even do the paperwork yet, so you want to do that early on, because that's when the clock starts ticking when it comes to funding and credit cards and how long your business been open. And that's where a lot of them missed out on qualifying for PPP or the grants or things with this whole pandemic, because they might have been 4 months late from the qualification date, even though they were technically in business. So that's what I was sharing about that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So I am now, if anybody else has any more questions, I am now going to go into our next framework, guys, and that is going to be for any of my current childcare providers. And I always share, guys, even if you are thinking about starting a childcare program and you're that close, whether you're like beginner, or whether you're like in the middle, you got your building, but you're struggling a little bit, stay on, because that means that you're already putting that energy out there that you're going to be, that childcare entrepreneur. And these are things that you're going to need once your door is open. Okay. So the 3-part framework that we teach from in the mentorship program, guys, is classroom management and systems, family business and finance, organizational structures and systems. So those are the 3 things that I love to focus in. Those are the three things that, we really, really dive deep into. And so when you think about your classroom management systems, classroom management is one thing, but the classroom systems is another. And it's really up to you as the leader, as the owner of your business, to create those systems, because your staff is only walking into what they see. Your staff is only going to give you the expectation back to what they walk into. So you really, really want to make sure you think about these things that create a high quality, easily flowing classroom and program. Okay. One of the first things you want to think about is going to be your daily schedule. Okay, so your daily schedule for the 3 different age groups or 4 different age groups that you may service. So when you think about your daily schedule, are you going to have free play time twice a day, or are you going to have it once a day? Okay, are you going to have read alouds twice a day, or are you going to have it once a day? Are you going to include washing hands and diaper changing on your schedule and allot that time, or are you going to assume that the teachers kind of know how to do it? So you really, really want to think about what your daily schedule looks like. And for your preschool classroom, I know I have a lot of childcare people on here that want to go from not just having service and toddlers, infants, but they really want to get into that preschool field. They've been in the game for a little bit and they really want to make that shift. And so when you think about preschool, how are you going to bring that curriculum and that quality and that learning academic aspect to your program? Okay. You really, really want to think about your mission and your philosophy. And when I say your mission and your philosophy statement, that goes back to your business plan. And I say that because this is where you really tunnel in. This is really where you make your program unique, and what your beliefs are on education, what you would like to see. And I always say, like, I have some clients that are just owners of their program, and I have some clients that are owners and directors. So I myself, I'm an owner and a director. Like, I'm on site all the time, so you really, really want to think about your mission and your philosophy. So I know some programs that they are only kindergarten prep. Like, that is their focus, the literacy. Some of them are Montessori. Some of them are hands-on. Some of them are math. So some of them have dance added in their mission and their philosophy. So what do you want to focus on, and what do you want your program to, I say, quote unquote, be known for? What do you really want to be different to make ABC different from 1, 2, 3, and y'all right down the street from one another? Okay. And you think about your classroom management systems, look at your small groups. Okay. So if you have a classroom right now and you feel like it's loud, it's all over the place, the teachers, yes, they're prepared, but they're not like really giving you that preparation that you either see other programs have, or just a desire that you want for your program all by itself. So look at your small groups. What are you doing? You as the owner and the leader of your program, yes, your teachers could be frustrated, and yes, it can be loud, but what you have to understand is, do you provide those resources for them? So when you think of small groups, they should be counting. They should be learning letters, shapes, colors. They should be learning, like, you guys know, I always share, if we are in kindergarten, we should not be holding a pen like this and leaving your program. They should be understanding pencil grip, leaving your program, right? So you really, really want to think about those things when you think about small group, but more importantly, what materials are you giving your teachers to provide those great resources, okay? You want to think about your curriculum, and this is a really, really big one that we touch on in the mentorship program, because as a new childcare provider, if you are new, meaning like your business has not been open for 24 months yet, you have not been in the business for 2 years yet, as the actual owner, okay, and being responsible for everything. So think about your curriculum. Can you afford a curriculum? Do you have to make up your own? Are you going to have your curriculum out of a textbook? Are you going to have your curriculum delivered to you? There's so many things you want to think about in your curriculum, but as the owner, what do you want your curriculum to focus on? Do you want it to be more art for your toddlers? Do you want it to be more hands-on learning games with letters and numbers and shapes, and literacy and sight words for your preschoolers, right? You want to think about those things when you think about, your curriculum and what the curriculum focus is. And I say that because for almost like, I'm gonna say 16 years of business, we've always used Mother Goose Time. And that's just, been our curriculum that we've used because it covers all age groups. But when we became a PHL pre-K provider, which is like, many people may not know what it is, but it's like a Head Start program, funded through the city of Philadelphia. So when we became a partner with them, we had to switch our curriculum to hands-on, because the developmentally appropriate statistics is that children learn through hands-on learning, hands-on play. You have to create those experiences for them. You have to create that learning for them, aside from just sitting down with that ditto sheet, right? And I say that because I'm very old school. My mom's very old school. That's where we come from. You sit down, and if you want to teach Johnny the letter A, you use flashcards, you use paper, but those were things that we had to unlearn. We had to learn how to create thought-provoking discussion questions in our centers, right? And I think I'm doing thought-provoking because I'm saying, Johnny, can you build me a cake? And Johnny says, yes. And then I say, well, and how many slices do you have? And Johnny counts 1, 2, and then I'm done, right? But that is not what those thought-provoking questions, those thought-provoking, engaging discussion questions are, because the purpose of a child is to get their brain and juices flowing, right? And one way that you do that is by asking questions like, and how many, cups of water did you need? Let's count them, and giving them that actual experience, okay? So you want to think about your curriculum, and does your curriculum provide that? And if not, and if you can't afford that expensive $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 curriculum, because they are pricey, how can I get that or make that on my own from a different pool of websites and resources? So therefore, I'm still meeting my state's learning standards, the early learning standards, but I'm not at the space of having that fancy curriculum because I'm in startup, but I'm still providing quality. Because quality is not about how big your program is, how small your program is, how nice, cutely painted it is. It is about what goes on in that classroom, okay? So you want to think about that when you're thinking about budgeting and ordering stuff. Your child assessment, okay? So child assessment, you guys know I had a live about this the other day, so I ain't gonna dig too deep in it, but your child assessment is how you guys assess the children once they've been with you, okay? So we use work sampling, we use Teaching Strategies Gold, for our child assessment tool, but that really allows us to share that at parent-teacher conference, measure the child, right? Especially for your young toddlers, you can do your toddlers, but your older toddlers and your preschoolers, because that's where you share with the parents where their child is, because it's your job to educate the parents. Like, not that you educate them on what they don't know, but it's your job to educate the parents on their children's learning. It's your job to educate the parents on, are they, making leeway where they are, because they don't know. They don't know that Johnny's supposed to be able to feed himself by a certain age, and all of those brackets. So that's a really great pointer for you guys to invest that into your program if you do not have a child assessment tool or a child screening tool to kind of screen them and see where they come in at, okay? So you want to think about that. You want to think about your teacher engagement. That is like Y'all gotta take a break for that one. That is like one of the biggest things I can say as a director. That, you know, sometimes we become frustrated as that director when we hire staff and they are not performing at the level of expectation that we think they are when it comes to engagement, right? So we gotta teach engagement. We gotta train engagement. We gotta really truly either provide professional development training for our staff if we don't know as the owner what that really truly looks like, or you as that owner and director, you got to take it back. You got to really get back in there and get into the classroom, because they only perform as great as you teach them, and they build upon that with their experience and their own education and all that great good stuff. Okay, so you want to think about, what does engagement look like? Are you going to have a 2-time rule or a 3-time rule? And when I say a 3-time rule, I love to teach my staff from a 3 times response. So when we were talking about like Johnny in the dramatic play, and I use Johnny for everything, y'all. So when I say Johnny in a dramatic play, you know, did you have a 3 exchange conversation with him about how he made the cake, what he needed to make the cake? Does his mom or grandma make cakes at home? And then let him express and develop language off those questions, okay? Classroom culture and classroom management. Those are a lot of important things when it comes to the loudness in the classroom, children running back and forth, a lot of accidents and supervision. Okay, so when I think about what classroom management tools does your program currently have in your program right now? Okay, are they doing any Apple management tool system? Are they doing clap, 1, 2, all eyes on me? All eyes on me, all eyes on you? Are they doing crisscross applesauce, peanut butter, jelly fingers? Are they doing when the lights go out? You know, they know that attention grabber, right? So what is your classroom management system that you have in your daycare center? And as the owner, if you're not sure, that's where you go in and you build with your staff, you learn with your staff, okay? You want to think about your learning centers. So when I say learning centers, guys, that's your dramatic, your science, your reading, your library, that's your sensory, all of those areas, your manipulatives. That's all your learning areas in your actual facility, in your actual building, okay? So you want to think about that when you think about your learning centers, and do you have enough learning materials for the day to function? And then I say that because I learned the hard way. When I had a toddler only center, I didn't have the right learning materials. Like everything was light up colors. But after the batteries is going, there's no building, there's no learning, there's no hands-on in the learning centers for them. And that's where a lot of the accidents were coming from, right? So when you think about your learning materials, your classroom materials, you know, you really want to look at that checklist. You know, that you go from with your accreditation program and what you have in your learning centers, okay? One of the other important things, guys, is going to be your lesson plans, okay? So are y'all collecting lesson plans? How often are you collecting them? If you don't have a program, how often will you like to collect them? Are you going to be reviewing them? But really, what do you expect? Right? That's what I say, because a lot of my mentees that when we're teaching in a group about lesson plans, we fail to realize as the leader, and this is one of the biggest things I learned in my director's credential course, you have to set the expectation for your staff, but you got to show them. So if you're going to tell them you want this lesson plan back and this is what you're looking for, share examples, sit down and brainstorm a lesson plan with them, right? Don't just pour that level of responsibility on them and they don't have that experience. And even if they do have the experience, guys, you got to teach them your culture of your center. Because if any of my providers on here know that are my seasoned providers, staff come in and say, well, you know, I'm used to doing it like this at this center, I'm used to this, or I'm used to that, you know, so you have to teach them, you know, what does your lesson plan look like in your program? Because it may be different, you know, so you may allow your staff to bring in resources and, you know, add an extra fun days in the curriculum, and some centers may not, okay? So you want to think about all of those areas when it comes to classroom management and systems. So when we think about classroom management, we're talking about lesson planning, engagement, and transition, okay? Think about your teaching planning and prep daily activities that should include some small groups, And small groups can be your art, your math, your science, your writing, or your literacy, okay? You wanna think about your read aloud. So are you gonna read one today? Are you gonna read twice a day? Is the one day read aloud for the morning reading gonna be more tailored towards the actual theme that you guys are learning and study, right? And is the second read aloud just gonna be a read aloud on anything that the teacher chooses? Okay, so you wanna think about it, gonna be that specific. Your free choice, how long is the free choice? Are you gonna break up your free choice 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon? Is the free choice gonna be when they first come in on arrival in the morning? And when they get up after nap, like where are you gonna fit that in that? And is it doable? And I say because when we were becoming a STAR 3 and 4 program, I was not okay with having 2 hours of center play. And I had to do it because we were growing up that ladder. And when they come out to do observations, this is what you have to have. You have to have these hours, 4 hours of free play split up over your schedule based upon how many hours you operate, right? So I had to figure out how to get it in there. But what I learned is when I put like an hour and a half of free play, classroom management got crazy. The accidents increased. So I had to figure out how can I still get these 4 hours in our 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. day and still meet that STAR 3 or 4 standard. Okay. You want to think about your transition. So how do your ladies or how does your staff in your facility transition? Do they have transition attention getters? Are they bringing the children back to the carpet? Because that's one of the biggest things that, especially in a toddler, in any classroom or age group, children need routine. So they should know where is the gather space, right? Is it on the circle time carpet? Is it a space that they line up with a piece of tape in the middle of the floor? Like where do they come together at when they're trying to clean up from free play and go to the art table? Do the teacher just call them over one by one and everybody go from left to right? You know, what does that look like? Or what would you like that to look like? Okay. You want to think about your gross motor. So gross motor is a really, really big thing. Is it going to be, especially from our facilities, guys, that have indoor play? If you guys have indoor play in your program, indoor play can sometimes affect the rest of the building because it gets loud, right? They got the cars, they got the bikes, they got the balls, they got the ropes, it's loud. You know, so think about your gross motor. Are you going to switch classrooms off? Are they going to take walks? Are they going to take walks when you're not on site? Because now we think about liabilities and any emergencies and any of those things, okay? And really, you know, what is the expectation for gross motor? Are they still tying in the curriculum? You know, are you guys incorporating, like, so for me, I love for my staff to, I don't mind everybody going outside and playing and having that free play, but we always have like this 7-step exercise that's a part of their gross motor, right? And I learned that from when we did our STARS the first time we did our STARS, we failed, right? And this, we was becoming a STAR 3. And one of the reasons why we failed was for engagement and questions. And it was raining that day and I couldn't take the kids out. So I didn't think to do gross motor indoor. And when we did gross motor indoor, I didn't give them the exercises, at least 7 of them, so that they're getting in that them credits, the points, right? So now I learned that, and I wanted that to be a part of my gross motor routine for my staff, incorporated, you know, when they're doing their lesson plans and when they're outside, because that's kind of like a teacher-led activity, you know, or is assuring that Johnny is really getting those gross motors in. And that way I can make sure that they're always staying ready, you know, when it comes to engagement, because we have a lot of visitors. So we have coaches that come in our building and all that stuff. So I wanted to make sure they were ready and not just like pretending when it's time for the, you know, inspector or someone to come. And I like to just practice and do things right the first time the right way. Okay. See, when I think about all of those things when it comes to classroom management, when it comes to classroom management, let's talk about engagement. Okay. So are they exchanging conversations, open-ended conversations? Are you guys taking observations? Okay. Or are you guys just, you know, letting them play? Are y'all actually taking anecdotes? Because the anecdotes, guys, is what builds upon the goals for them to develop. So you know where to meet the child at. That's really what the observations truly are there for. You want to think about the learning materials. That was something we talked about. Do you have enough or do you need to order more? Okay. And are they like, quality learning materials. And when I say quality, I mean things that you can use in any area of development. So math, social studies, science, that type of stuff. Okay. You want to think about your transitions. So your songs, your games, your discussion questions, your question of the day, like what leads the classroom in a theme? There should be like a theme and a focus point throughout your day when you think about teaching and learning for the children, especially for the preschoolers. So if you guys are investigating recycle, there should be a theme. I should be able to walk into the classroom as a director and know what we learning. And I'm not just talking about from art projects hanging on the wall. I should know what we're learning by things I see on the wall, questions of the day, conversations that children are having in those learning centers, right? Allowing the teachers to create those learning centers as the innovative theme that you guys are having to study for the week or the month, You want to think about those things. Creating a box for preparation. So making sure you have some type of, go-to box for that area. So if you're recycling, there should be a pretend recycle basket in your classroom and the dramatic play center so that the children can continuously take those life skills that we're teaching them by books and conversations, but they can actually, pretend it out and act it out, get creative with their friends. Okay. So that's what we think about when we think about classroom management systems. So if anybody has a question when it comes to classroom management systems, I'm going to open up the floor. Okay. Just make sure that you share and announce where you are. This is a struggle of yours, or you have any questions about it in your current facility, or you're thinking about it when you actually get your doors open because you get right open. If you guys have any questions, and I did see, it looks like some people dropped them down in the box, in the chat box. So I will check the chat box once I get done sharing the screen for the presentation. But you guys are always more than welcome to unmute yourselves and ask any questions about classroom management. Okay. If not, we are going to keep going on. All right. So when we go back to the 3-part framework, guys, we're going back to the second one, and that's going to be that family, business, and finance, okay? So you really, really want to think about family, business, and finance, because ultimately, as a private childcare provider, it is a family business, whether it's for your children, whether it's with your spouse, whether it's with your mother, your sister. I love meeting providers who are in business with a partnership, or, it's a family business. You're creating that generational legacy, that wealth. You're doing something that maybe someone else in your family has never done before. Okay, so you really want to think about, when you think about business and finance in your daycare program right now, ask yourself, is your business financially sound? Okay, you really, really want to ask yourself, and based off the debt that you've accumulated, based off the payroll that you either can or can't afford, is your business financially sound? And some of the things you want to think about when you think about, is your business financially sound, is you want to consider your books of leadership in business. It doesn't matter what level of degree you have, guys. And I say this because that's why I named the business Educated Minds, is because you have to continuously be learning. You have to be continuously growing. And yes, you may know childcare, but you got to learn business and you got to learn leadership in order to have a profitable, thoroughly run program, in order to have a business that can operate whether you are there or not there. And I say that because I remember one of my inspectors, one of our childcare programs, said that if you have to be there every day at your daycare center, then you don't have a thoroughly ran and a thoroughly systems in place of your program, because you should not have to be at your building every day in order for the business to operate. Because in business, our goal is to double, our goal is to triple, right? So you want to think about those things. Your operational costs. So like, how much does it cost you to care for one child in your program? Toddler, infants, especially them infants, toddlers, infants, preschoolers. How much does it cost you to actually operate your daycare? And that includes your rent, your mortgage, your electric, your payroll, your staffing. All of those things go into the everyday number. Okay, so are you really making a profit? And if so, how do you know? Okay, so that goes to your record keeping. Do you have an accountant? Do you use QuickBooks? Like, what is your method of knowing I'm making a profit? Because I forget who it was that asked about the PBP and SBA. When I was applying for it, it was so easy just to go into our systems of record keeping, our payroll system, our money management system, our accounting system. It was so easy to go in and pull reports so that we can qualify. Because one of the things we mess up on in our starter things of business is not documented. And if the money is not documented, the gross income, it doesn't matter. The money has to be documented, guys. That's how you qualify for that $61,000 line of credit. That is how you qualify for lines of credit. The bank will come knocking to you. So the same way, if you guys know like personal credit, when you think about it, once you start fixing your credit, everybody starts sending you credit cards. Once you start fixing your credit, everybody starts sending you emails and pre-approvals and pre-qualify, all that. It's the same thing in business. Like the bank has literally come knocked on our door. Literally, so you really want to position your business financially sound. And when I say financially sound, I'm really talking about the numbers on paper. So you need to make sure that you have some record keeping system, whether it's how you pay your bills. So like in our mentorship program, we always give our, I use a startup budget and I also use our utility budget. So our utility budget on knowing how much is the balances and how much did I pay this month? And not just in your business, but in that utility spreadsheet, you also get your personal, because you pay your bills all at the same time. Okay, so you really want to think about how are you spending your money? How and where do you need to reallocate funds? That's one of the biggest things I'm doing right now, guys, in the month of June, trying to close out budgets is like, no, I need to spend some more money on marketing. Okay, so you really want to think about that when you think about your childcare program. You want to think about your payroll. Are you going to have 1099 employers? Okay. Are you going to have 1099 employers or are you going to have W-2 employers? So you really want to think about, what type of employees are you going to have when you are actually bringing people on board. And if I haven't said anything in any of the mentorship programs, guys, put yourself on payroll, pay yourself. Like, I cannot stress that enough. I know it may be like you can't pay yourself a lot, but pay yourself. Truly get that, because that helps when you're trying to buy a home as an entrepreneur. I know from firsthand experience, okay? So you really want to think about that. You want to think about your tax breaks and your tax structures. So are you an LLC? Are you an S corporation? Are you a C corporation? Are you a sole proprietor? Meaning like this is not your full-time thing. What is your tax structure? Because that goes with your tax breaks. I always share with my childcare providers, I know for a fact, as an S corporation, that's one of the reasons why we chose to be S corporated, because that is the only entity that you're truly separated from yourself. Okay, so when you file taxes with the LLC, you're still filing that same 1040, like how you file it with you as an individual before you even got a business. But when you are a incorporated business, you're filing an 1119. So that's a total separate, everything spills over from your business to your personal at the end of taxes. But I will say S corporation and C corporation are the only tax breaks that you get 100% deductible on your taxes for payroll for W-2 employees. So if I made $300,000 and I spent at the end of my end of year report $150,000 on payroll, which I have, then that means I automatically take my 300 down to 150. And that's awesome for a business owner, because now I got to begin to get expenses deducted from the 150 instead of the 300. Because the more money you make, more taxes you pay, right? So these are all things you want to think about when thinking about tax breaks and your tax structure. You want to think about multiple streams of income in your business, okay? Especially in your childcare program. So do you have vending machines? Are you going to charge for uniforms? Are you not going to charge for uniforms? You want to think about, are you going to add an add-on service? So some providers I see, they do 24 hours. They do evening care. They do weekend care. They do dance only. They add those extracurricular activities. They rent out their space. They might rent out their commercial kitchen if they have a commercial kitchen on a Saturday for someone that needs a commercialized kitchen for a day, like it does platters or things like that. So you want to think about multiple streams of income, guys, is one of the biggest ways. And I'm not talking like multiple streams of income from other industries. Multiply what you already got. So if you have a daycare center and you know you're getting state funding, your next question should be, how can I get add-ons? How can I get accreditation money? How can I get federal state funding? How can I get a pre-K program? That's how you add in multiple streams of funding, right? That's how you're adding. Are you adding those late fees on? Are you adding application fees on? Like, that's how you add in towards what the bottom line you're already going to get. You have to think the full scope of your program and how can you maximize your space and how can you maximize your time that you're providing these services. So think outside the box, because that's where you get creative, and that's where parents will participate in that dance school on Saturday. You don't have to be the dance instructor, but you can surely bring someone in to do it, right? So you want to think about those things. You want to think about your lines of credit and your business credit. So I always share, you should be building that business credit the moment that you get that EIN, right? So you should be applying for those Granger lines. You should be applying for those easier lines, those PayPal credit lines that is going to give you the basic bottom line number of approval, because credit cards and credit lines of credit help you with that financial cushion to cover payroll, that financial cushion to cover the food program that you may don't have for free yet. Okay, so you want to think about when you think about any business that you open, even if you're on here and you just want a business, knowledge and you don't have a childcare program, get your business credit together, get your personal credit together, position yourself as a personal guarantor for your business funding that you're looking to achieve. Okay, your accreditation programs. So I know many people, and Ms. Dom, I was so guilty of this. I did not want a lot of people in my building. Like, I didn't want people all up in my books. I didn't want people all up in my building. I didn't want all those visitors and all that. But I had to get out of that mindset, right? Because I know that the more programs you sign up, the more funding you receive, the more accountability you have to have. And when accountability comes with visitors, TAs, auditors, all that stuff, and being as though we're privately owned, I had to learn, how to do an audit. Having an audit that's almost like an IRS audit. Like, how do you do that? How do you manage that? I had to learn all of those areas of business that I did not learn just by getting a degree, right? So you really, really want to think about how can you increase accreditation to increase your revenue? And I truly, truly share with any of my Philly providers that's on here, they will tell you that you can have your base rate they may pay you $30 a day for a child, right? But if you have that accreditation, if you are at like a star 2, you may get $1 extra. So now that is $31 a day for a child. If you have a star 3, they may give you $4 extra. So then that's $34 a day for a child. If you have a star 4 full-time, they will give you $14 extra. So now that is $44 a day, not by me doing anything extra. And that's per kid per day, okay? So you want to think about those accreditation programs, because the money is out there, but the money is out there to providers that put in the work, put in the effort. And you guys always know, I always post to anyone that's new here, do the paperwork to get the paper, okay? Your marketing and your branding, what does that look like? Okay, so we'll talk about that. That's going to be the one that we really, really dive into. Your enrollment capacity. So if you are not at capacity, you should know what you need to flex when it comes to toddlers or infants and preschoolers or school agers, because they're remote now and summer camp is coming, in your program. Okay, so you want to think about how many more children do I need to fill this room to meet my quota? If you have it, and you should have a revenue goal, guys. So if you grossed, I don't know, 40,000 your first year of business as a childcare provider, what is this year's goal? And how much do you need to make a month to get to that goal? You should never be in business without an end of the result goal, right? Because that's how you constantly stay hungry. That's how you constantly stay grinding. And that's how you stay in tune with what is financially going on in your business. Okay. And last but not least, your business practices. So you really, really want to think about where your accounting and record keeping and business practices are when it comes to your policies, your procedures, your HR. How do you onboard staff? Okay. How do you hire staff? How do you fire staff? How do you prevent your business from lawsuits? All of that great good stuff. Okay. So today, one of the biggest feedbacks that I got from you guys in my notes was marketing and branding. Okay. So today I'm going to dive a little bit into marketing online and marketing offline. Okay. So every childcare provider, whether you are at least brandly new open, should have a basic website. And when I say basic, I mean real basic. Like you don't have to have the, 6 tabs, drop down, slide over, but you should have a basic website that shares what your business entails, share what your business includes. Because one of the things I've learned is when you're applying for grants, when you're applying for loans, they look at that. I kid you not. I had a whole SBA officer give me a call that he checked out our barbershop website way before he even approved the grant. Okay, because they want to make sure you really exist, that this is a real business, that you have a real SEO secured. Okay, so you should have a basic business website. You should definitely have your flyers and your brochures, and they should be ready. They should be colorful. They should be clear, not a whole lot of text. They should get straight to the point. Okay. You should be building community partnerships in your community. So you want to make sure that as that business owner, if you are the face of your business, they should know who the owner of ABC 123 is. Not that they think they know who it is. The business next to you should know. The barbershop down the street should know. Especially the elementary school down the street should know who ABC 123 Daycare is in their community. Okay, because that's putting a face to the name, that's building relationships. Even this year, we've had parents or school teachers, I guess, that are transitioning to different school districts in our neighborhood, and they've already called to try to secure their pre-K slot for the next year because they're going to be working at that school, and the principal knows who I am. Right? So you want to build those relationships. So I'm getting marketing, not just by spending money, but just by simply saying hello, just by simply giving other businesses business in my community. Okay. You should be making sure that you have some type of parent referral program. So use the families you already have, whether you're going to give a gift card. I've seen programs outside have banners that they're giving out TVs, like get creative, especially during this time. I've seen people give like the little tablets, like a child will get a tablet if they sign up, just not, I ain't say Apple, a tablet, but they get like them little, like the little tablets you get from Amazon. They're giving those out, so you really, really want to think about what is your way for a referral if someone signs up and they already are in your program. They should be getting some level of a reward, and you should constantly be reminding them that you have this program. So for me, every top of the month, the first of the month, when we're like having our marketing plan and our marketing team meeting, all our parent referral programs go on a cutties every single month. That flyer goes out, those text messages go out to remind the parents. Because she could have been sitting with Susie in the car thinking about a daycare, and they might have just had that conversation, and here you go, right on time, reminding them. Okay, so you really, really want to think about those things. You want to think about your open house. Okay, so are you hosting open houses? Are you hosting a virtual open house right now? And if you are, there should be branded materials with your logo, your name, takeaways, water bottles, pens, brochures, things available as a thank you for coming to your open house. Because just because they don't sign up right now, just remember, you're planting the seed. You're giving that experience. You're giving that information as to why they should choose your ABC 123 childcare program opposed to the one down the street, right? Because best believe when they shopping in your program, they're also shopping at other programs. It's just like shopping for a car because that's their baby. That's their person that they want to make sure that they're leaving in your care. Okay. Your social media marketing. So you really, really want to make sure, are you spending money on advertisements? Are you doing videos? Are you making flyers? Are you spending money on boosting posts? Are you doing that thing so you can get traffic, right? Are you using hashtags? Are you on your social media giving the families that experience on your social media profile, or are you just sharing your children? Are you sharing your curriculum? Okay. Are you sharing what the classroom might look like when there's no children in there, giving them that visual? So bring them through that experience, bring them through that process, introduce them, but making sure that all your children you put on your social media or website or anywhere that you have that photography waiver for all families and all parents, okay? You really, really want to make sure that you think about your outdoor marketing. So I spoke about this, guys, on the live the other day, but I spoke about it because outdoor marketing matters. That's what brings them in. That's what literally makes somebody come into your program, especially if they are just walking by or driving by. Your front has to be on point. It has to be clean. It has to be inviting, friendly, welcoming, that it looks approachable. That if it looks good on the outside, now I'm curious about what's on the inside. So making sure that you're investing into your program that way. Okay, when you're thinking about marketing and branding. And one of my last bonus tips that I put down here for my payroll. So if anybody is a current childcare provider and you have a payroll in place and you had a payroll in place last year, you really, really want to ask your accountant about the tax retention credit that's going on for COVID right now. Okay, because basically what you can do is save money on your taxes as the employer while you still run payroll. So if your payroll on average might cost you $5,000 for 2 weeks for your employees, instead of paying $5,000 because they have that retention credit on federal taxes right now, you will only be paying about $6,000 because you have that limit of $10,000 up to every employee. So you really want to look it up. It's called the tax retention credit. And make sure that you consult with your accountant or whoever it is that does your payroll system if you were open in 2020 and we're doing business. Okay. So you really, really want to think about that when it comes to your marketing and your branding. So I'm going to open up the floor for questions on marketing and branding. If you guys have any questions about that, I'm going to open up the floor now. You guys can take yourself off mute. If you guys have any questions, share where you are from, and if you are a current or startup childcare provider. All right. So now, let's see. This always tricks me up, guys. Let me see. Can I go to next? Okay, cool. So our last part of the 3-part framework, guys, is going to be organization and structures and systems. And that is the office. That is the paperwork. That is like what makes your program. Like aside from the walls, the paperwork is what matters. Like the paperwork has to be on point, especially as a provider and a startup, because that's where license and inspection, that's where your health department, and really that's where your DHS comes into play, okay? So when you're thinking about office, and this is my favorite part, like I'm a paperwork person. I love the office. I love organizing the office. I love typing memos. Like I just love the office, the administrator aspect of being a childcare owner. And so when you think about your office structure and your systems, these are some things that you should have or consider having in your program as a current childcare provider to get organized for some organizational systems in your business. One is going to be your academic calendar. Okay, so you want to have an academic calendar because you want to already have it planned out. You want to know what days are you closed for the year. You want to know in your academic calendar, and this is the internal one, not the one you get with your parents, but what goes on in what month in your business. Okay, so when is it graduation? If it's graduation in June, what month are you going to start preparing? When is your enrollment season for summer? When do you need to get flyers out 2 months in advance for that? Okay, you want to think about if you're going to be doing bonuses. So if you know you do a major hiring routine, maybe not now because it's COVID, but if you know you do a major hiring routine in September, like August is one of my biggest hiring months because we're gearing up for the new school year. So I know that around November is the time that I have to do a lot of evaluations, for staff. I got to have money in my budget to give out bonuses or give out raises, all of that stuff. So you really, really want to think about your academic calendar, especially if this is your second year or more in childcare as an owner. Okay, because you learn from what happened the first year, January, February, you learned when paperwork was due. You learned when you had to get them emergency contacts, renewal signed. You learned a whole year's worth of business. So one of the ways that you can be organized, one of the ways that you can be ready is to literally reflect on what was due what month, especially paperwork, because it's typically repetitive. Okay. You want to think about having a task list system in your business for your staff. Like I'm telling you guys, that task list system in our business for our staff, I've learned that from my coach, and that really, really changed. It really changed the game for me in our program, because I felt myself saying the same thing over and over and over on what to do at this time, what to do at that time. So I love having the task list system broken down by the day for every single role in the business. Even I have a task list system as the owner. Like Mondays is the days that I check the bank accounts. Mondays is the days that I make the money decisions, that I, pay for large purchases. Because I know it's clearing, So one thing about those things, you want to really consider having a Google Drive for your business. Okay, so you really, really want to think about creating that Google Drives, those automated forms and systems for your staff and for your parents, because it collects data. Okay, it stores data in the cloud. So if you are a multi-site provider like I am, I can't be hoping and praying that I got the lunch menu on this computer, and then I'm at this computer at this daycare today. I have to learn how to operate by the cloud, because I need everything in the cloud, everything available at my fingertips, whether I'm in Philly or not in Philly. Okay. You really, really want to think about your parent engagement. So what does your parent engagement look like? Okay. Is that just like your one parent conference a year? Is it that they go on field trips? Is it that they volunteer? Is it that they have a say-so in some of the, policies and procedures? Is it that they give feedback and you host events? Like, what is your parent engagement made up of? Okay. The stronger parent engagement system that you have, the stronger communication system that you have, creates reputation in your program. Okay, so building that relationship with them, giving them that reassurance, giving them that feedback and that input really, really builds on reputation, and reputation builds on automated marketing for your childcare program. Okay, so you want to think about and try to elevate and build on your actual parent engagement program. You want to think about the onboarding process. Okay, and your staff evaluations, your staff schedules, and your employee handbook. How do you bring people in your business? Is it organized? Is it not organized? Do you have a handbook, but you don't have, the evaluations? Do you have a handbook, but you don't have job descriptions? Do you have a resignation policy? Do you have a termination policy for children? You really, really want to look at them handbooks, because the policies is what run your program. That's how you enforce them. That's how you build upon them. That's how you learn what to do, what not to do. And that's what saves you when it comes to legal. Okay. So you really, really want to think about your onboarding systems, your onboarding process for your staff, because best believe when people are coming to look, do they want to work for you? They're interviewing you too. They're interviewing your facility. They're looking at what it looks like. They're making a judgment call just the same way we are as that owner. Okay. You want to look at your software management system. So how do you manage your files? Okay, and not by manual, not the manual version. So how do you actually manage them digitally and have access to know when things are automatically expired, in your actual program? Okay, you want to think about that. You want to think about the dates. You should have like a spreadsheet or some form of a chart that when things expire. You don't have to, go take all the files home or take the whole binder home. So some people use ProCare, some people use Brightwills, we use Childware, some people use different software management systems, some people use Hi Mama. Different software management systems to communicate with parents and manage their files. And if you cannot afford one of those systems, then you can always have a spreadsheet. So I myself, for years, before we had the expensive software systems, I use the basic spreadsheet. So that's the spreadsheet. If anybody has it in our Educated Minds community, or any of my mentees that they have it a part of the course, you get that spreadsheet for your staff and your students. So now you put all your dates in and you automatically know when things expire. You don't got to go take the files home with you. You know what 5 or 6 files you need to begin working on because they get ready to expire, with emergency contacts, agreements, the child's observations or the assessments, all those great good things, okay? You want to think about your time management. And I know that was a really big one that a lot of people put in on their thing, but time management as the owner, guys, you really, really have to figure out what day you are going to do what. Because if you try to do everything as a director or owner, you know they call your name 50 million times, the phone rings, the door rings, you're called and you're running. So trying to find time in the office is hard, but you have to, because you don't want to get burnt out yourself, right? You have to have those systems in place on what day you are doing what. When are you checking those files? Is it weekly? Is it bi-weekly? When are you checking those files? When are you checking your teachers' clearances? When are you following up with vendors? When are you changing a voicemail in your program? Okay, so you need to know, and that needs to be laid out in your task list management system, because the task list management system goes with your time management system. Because if you're anybody like Ms. Dime, my mind be all over. It's hard for me to focus. So you want to be organized, and you want to know that's one of the ways that you don't get burnt out as an owner, especially as a new owner, because it's all new for you. Okay. And you want to think about the last part is going to be your employee incentives and your employee write-ups. So you really want to think about what is that going to look like for your staff in your SOPs. So your SOPs are systems, your operating systems, right? That's your systems of procedures. And that really is laid out what you do when you do it. Okay, so if you are a multi-site provider like myself, I never had SOPs, but I had to create SOPs because I needed to bring in an administrator to manage things and an office manager to manage things. And I didn't want to keep repeating myself on how to check the voicemail, how to input a new kid, how to do the food program management system, how to order food off the vending system that we have online. So I had to literally write out all my SOPs, so that way if I wasn't around, she knows to pull that binder and what to exactly do. Okay. So when you think about your binder systems, you want to think about your classroom binders. And these are just some binders that not that you should have, but if you're creating binder systems, which is a great way to stay organized, you should think of having a color code system, and it can be any color that you choose. Okay. But you want to think about your teacher and your classroom forms, your ditto sheets, right? So does the teachers have access to these things, or do they always have to ask you for them? The best way that you can delegate things is allowing people to have access to what they need, so they don't constantly have to pull you in 35 directions, okay? You want to think about your parent communication binder. So if you were sending on newsletters, menus, memos, all that great good stuff, you should have a binder for it, right? So that you don't have to keep going back every year, reprinting it. Or if you bring in an administrator, they know where to find the Mother's Day activity that you created from last year. They know where to find the Mother's Day flyer that you put out from last year. They know what the expectation is for that flyer making or marketing, or communication with parents, because you have that binder of everything you're collecting over a period of time. Okay. You really, really want to think about some of your daily forms. So your boo-boo reports, right? You want to think about your cubby alerts. How do you let families know that you need more diapers, wipes, all of that great good stuff? You need a binder, you need a system for that stuff. Okay. You want to think about your administrative binder. So that should be your food program, your employee files, your staff files, your state inspections, anything relevant to the state should be in there. Okay, health, license, write-ups, pop-ups, all that stuff should be in that binder. Your educational binder, that's going to be your red binder. So that's your curriculum, anything relevant to your curriculum. Focus points, your assessment binder. So if you're having educational portfolios for your students. So like we just had our parent-teacher conference, and we're gearing up for the next one. And I was able to go in and pull out my educational portfolio binder and share with my new staff, even my assistant teachers, how do you write reports professionally? That is, right? How do you actually, make sure that you're communicating with the parent and what the expectations are, and giving them an example, some templates, some samples on it, okay? You want to think about putting your lesson plans in this binder, your anecdotes, your observations, your blank forms for your teachers to use. Okay, and the last one is going to be the finance binder, green the money. Okay, so your state income, those invoices, those vendors, those checks that you get, you should be keeping them if you ever get audited. Okay, you should be archiving the ones that's like 3 years and older in a file cabinet, because you know at that 5-year marker that they can always go back. Okay, and this will be my second year doing an actual like a major financial audit through our pre-K program. So you have to keep record keeping. I've learned that the hard way. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're keeping your receipts, your attendances, your monthly bills. How are you paying bills, right? How are you writing bills? If somebody asks you what you took out $2,000 off your bank account for 2 months ago, do you have an answer for that? Okay, that should be where your grants and your accreditation programs are, and your payroll as the last one when you think about your binder systems. Okay, so now I'm going to open up the floor as we conclude our workshop for question and answers. Does anybody have any questions and answers overall for any of the content that was shared in the childcare workshop today? You guys can ask. I will do some question and answers.
Hey, Mr.
Time. Go ahead. Just share your name and where you're from.
My name is Alexis. So I am from Georgia, but I have a question about the classroom management. So lately I've been working with the school age kids, for the afternoons, and they are a little bit rowdy. Maybe I'm not used to that age group. So I'm wondering, how can I calm them down like I do with my preschoolers and my toddlers, because I'm good with them.
Okay. And are they are they in that space of remote, or are we done school completely?
Done completely.
Done completely. Oh, yeah, because you and Dry just was in Atlanta last week. Yeah, so when you think about the school agers, and this is for anyone that has summer camp as well, that's a really great question, because a lot of my mentees, when I get it, they be like, Ms. Dom, my school agers, they bored, they tell me what they don't want to do, and it's a different age group, right? So one of the things you have to do when you think about them is you have to still go back to the basics, and you just got to create that funness on a higher level. So the same way you had those songs, the same way you had those go-to spaces, those reward charts, all of those things in your preschool program, you want to try to implement them in a fun way. So like one of the things I know, I used to have like a behavior issue in one of my programs when it came to the after school program. And so we implemented a treasure box, because one of the children was like, the preschoolers always get, gifts and all that great good stuff to go home, but we never get anything else that extra, so we created that chart system. And it wasn't like a sticker chart system because they're too old for that, they think they're grown, but it was more like a fun chart system. And we gave them more roles and responsibilities in the classroom. Another great thing to do is always board games, so you got to meet them where they are. Like school agers, they love slime, they love science, but maybe not in the baby-fied way that we're used to doing it, So you really, really want to create those fun ideas that it is not a quick activity, but it's thoughtful. So the same way you have art projects, school agers, they love working in groups. They love creating 3D boxes. They love creating things that, are 3D or that can hang from the ceiling. Like they like those type of activities, but they also like to get up and move around, so they're very competitive. So creating teams in the classroom is always a great way to try to, build that relationship, because you want to build that trust and you want to build that rapport, but you want to build that firmness, that the respect must be there when it comes to the school agers. So hopefully that was a great tip and tool for you in your situation that you're dealing with. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? Thank you, Alexis, for asking your question. I think someone raised their hand. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Michelle. I'm from Jamaica.
Hello. Oh, I remember. Nadia, thank you for joining in.
Yes, you have unpacked quite a number of gems, very, very good information. I want to thank you so much for taking time off and just being with us today. Really, really grateful. especially interested in hearing about your binder system in terms of, I think you had a live when you were showing your binder system.
Yes.
During my downtime during the COVID, I started a binder system. So when I saw you do it, I said, yes, I'm onto some good stuff.
Yes,
What
yes,
I want to
yes,
know though,
yes.
Dominique, what I want to know though, Dominique, how do you decide what goes in your binder or not? And I saw just a while ago when you were given the color coding, but how do you decide what goes into your binder or not?
Awesome. That's a great question.
And for me, who is just starting the binder system, I wouldn't have much structure. Where's a good place to start?
Awesome. So a good place to start, I always share, is the file cabinet. One of the biggest things for me, and we literally, guys, so I didn't get a chance to record it yet, but I'm creating a whole binder system for my home office for all the other businesses, because I realized I'm disorganized in all those other businesses. I need to get the same system. So one of the great places, and I'll take y'all behind the scenes as the week goes on, but you want to start in the office, and I would say truly in the file cabinet, right? So start in the file cabinet on all your business. That's your finance, that's your administrative things that you file away, that you have to keep. And I say that because once you get your paperwork organized when it comes to children's files, staff files, food program, any of those, binders I mentioned on the red and the green, that will help you get organized. So once you're done your file cabinet, you're going to create new binder systems in your classrooms. I always believe, and I always teach by the method, I always teach my mentees to always start inside first and work your way out, right? Because if you yourself as the owner and director is not organized, it's going to show with your staff, right? If you yourself as the director or just the office is like all over the place, getting back to them, approving things, all of that stuff is going to be delayed because everything is everywhere. So start with your systems in your office, in your current file cabinet of things that you can never find. And that's one of the biggest things. I do go into depth more about that in the mentorship program, because we actually create our binder systems like together live, but you always want to start in your file cabinet and go from there. I'd say take a Saturday, and it ain't gonna be overnight, guys. Like, I actually redid the binders with my mentorship group 2 months ago, because I'm like, they don't look as nice. Let me redo them over with them. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. I always say take one drawer at a time, take 2 drawers at a time, go in those bags or those containers that you may have, and really go out and organize the papers and figure out, is this going to be one binder and break it up in sections? Or is this, I know, going to be a reoccurring thing that I'm going to constantly need to reuse? So that's just hopefully something that will help you when you think about how to create those binder systems. But I did create that live, and that will be something I know to, kind of give you guys more gems about when I'm thinking about content and all that good stuff. But we do create our binder systems in the mentorship group week 5. Okay. So hopefully that answered your question. Does anybody else have any other questions on any of the areas that we talked about, from childcare startup to our classroom management, to our business and finance, and then our office? So if you guys have questions, I know some of you guys are raising your hands with the hand raiser, but you can just unmute yourself and regularly ask your question, because I won't know who has their hand up unless I keep going through everyone that's on here. Okay. So let me know if you guys have any questions. All right. If you guys have them in the chat, I'll make sure I answer them before I stop sharing. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to open the floor, guys. I know I've been getting a lot of messages and DMs, really on the DMs and on Facebook. I know some of you guys are on Facebook too. And what is one of the ways that you guys can work with me? So I'm giving you guys the open invitation as we restart that wheel over. Okay. And the first one is going to be in our Educated Minds University. Our second class will begin May 22nd. Okay. So that's going to be a live 6-week group coaching mentorship program. In that live, this is going to be the second one. So I love it. I will only take 6 mentees. If you guys know me, y'all know any of my other mentees that's on here from the startup. You guys know I like it small, I like it intimate, and I like to be able to really, really connect with people. So we will only have 6 mentees in that group. Okay, well, we only have 4 slots left as of this morning. So we only have 4 slots left for the Educated Minds University class that begins May 22nd. And what that will kind of look like, if you guys are kind of you're not sure, wanted to get some more information, we do 6 live sessions on Saturday from 11 to 1 every Saturday for 6 weeks. And then we do 6 live question and answer sessions on Wednesday from 7:30 to 9 Eastern Standard Time, that is PM, for live question and answer sessions where it's both my mom and I, okay? We do those live Q&As because I love to be able to not just teach you guys content, but I understand that things go on in your business every day. So we could be talking about business and finance, but you got an issue with the parent and you really need guidance and you really want to know what to do, okay? So that is what our question and answer sessions are for on Wednesday. All of our sessions are recorded and they all go in the portal. Once you actually sign up, you go into like this hub on this online portal. Okay, you will also get all the business classroom templates. So I shared that on all of the lives for the past 2 weeks. If you were interested in mentorship, to not purchase any of the things in the store, that's on the educatedminds.com store, because you get all of those for free. Okay, but you also get all of the other templates. And I mean, there's like, once you guys log in, you'll see it's like we shared almost 70 templates. Plus they had their 100% discount code when they were in the first class. So you get an abundance of business and classroom templates that you can immediately use in your program, even if you're trying to grow up that accreditation level. Okay. You also get an Educated Minds University workbook. So you guys know I am all about physically writing it down, putting it to a vision and putting it on paper, not just being a talker, but being a doer. I really, really love working with like action takers in our mentorship group, okay? Meaning that you are ready for a change in your program, or like my last group really consisted of new childcare providers. Like you just started your business in the past year and you kind of really, really want to know what to do to save yourself time, money, effort, and energy from making mistakes as you grow your business operations. Okay, so that's really, you know, what the group could be for you for. And then the Sisterhood of childcare owners. I must say, guys, this is the second class, and I'm really, really excited because the first class was such a success. We have some of our mentees like working together, doing summer trips this year in Philly together. So I'm really, really excited about that. You know, we're in our own DM group on Instagram and also on Facebook that we do that motivation every morning as a group of educators and inspiring women because we're all going through the same thing. You know, so if I wake up and I don't have a good day, I'm giving you guys that good energy. You guys are, you know, sharing that with others because we've had mentees from, we had Chicago in the building, we had Maryland in the building. I had California, Compton in the building for our last group. And I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Yeah, we had Baltimore, Chicago, Cali, and Philly. And our mentorship group from the first class. And it was just such great seeing each other post one another stuff and like one another stuff and really join in that sisterhood. And even now that the group is over, they still communicating, you know, so I love that, you know, because you want to be able to grow. And one of the best ways to grow is to meet other like-minded women, truly, and individuals such as yourself, that you can share those rough days, because we used to be venting in that Wednesday class, you know, about all the craziness that be going on throughout the week. And then the last piece is you guys get immediate access to me. So you guys get my direct phone number for any time, you know, moving forward throughout those 6 weeks. And you also get a 2-hour one-on-one. So once the mentorship group is over, you will still have access to all the videos and all the content for 60 days after the program concludes. And then you will also get a 2-hour one-on-one session with me. So, you know, once you learn everything you need to learn and you get all the downloads and everything that you need, once our lives are all done, then you still get that one-on-one because I still want to be able to help you with what's going on in your city, your state, and your program. Okay. And so that investment is $1,200, guys. We have a payment plan option where you pay $600 one time, and then you'll pay the $600 the following month on whatever day you sign up for. Okay, so you can break it up in a payment plan, or you can pay the whole $1,200 upfront. Okay, and that class will start May 22nd. For my childcare startup series mentees that are in here, we are doing our childcare startup series course. That is the online self-paced course, and I like to call it a hybrid program, guys, because I myself, it takes a lot for me to learn and retain information, because I was in an accident before. So I want to make sure that when you're learning anything that I'm teaching, that you still have access, right? And so in that hybrid program, you get over 70 lessons, which is really the 8-step program that I teach from. So I teach you the 8 steps. All that stuff I went over in childcare startup earlier in the presentation. I really dive deep into lessons and live videos, taking you guys through my childcare program and really showing you, like real life. Because I always love to keep it real with y'all, and especially in the startup process, because that's where you always second guessing yourself, So you get business templates and classroom templates as well in that childcare series course. You get the childcare startup workbook. You get an EM t-shirt. So anybody that buys anything in any of the mentorships, you all get an Educated Minds t-shirt. So I always love to just have y'all have them, because y'all be loving them. So I love to give them out. So you always get a t-shirt from me. And then you also get a 2-hour mastermind session. And you can break that session up 1 hour and 1 hour, or you can do the 2 hours in full, and you have access to the entire course for 1 year. Because I know that you guys are not going to get open in 3 months, because you can be in any place. I have some mentees that take the course because they want to know what to do from A to Z before they even do anything. They don't want to go buy their building and sign a lease and realize they didn't consider all these other factors, especially that backyard. You know what I mean? So they want to know what to do from A to Z before they start spending money, because the more that you know, the better you can spend your startup budget. Okay. And then you can always do your 1 hour once you are in your building and you're kind of getting ready to open and you're ready to prepare for your initial. So you have that open flexibility for the childcare stories course. Okay. So does anybody have any questions about that? I'm going to dive deep into how you actually sign up. Okay. So if you're interested in the 6-week program, that's going to be the second class. So when you go on, like if you're interested and you go onto the portal from the website, you're going to see Educated Minds 1 and you're going to see Educated Minds 2. You guys are in the May 22nd class. So you will want to register for that May 22nd class, and registration will end Wednesday, May 19th, because we will be starting live next Saturday at 11 a.m. Okay. So if you're interested in the 6-week Educated Minds University mentorship program, you can visit our website. You'll click the enrollment now link. You'll create your own username and password for your account in the portal. And then you'll make your $600 payment. So you have from now until Wednesday to pay your $600 as your payment plan option. And then you'll pay your next $600 in June from whatever date you actually signed up. It automatically comes out. Okay, so you can make your purchase that way, and then you will get all your welcome email, new orientation video, all that great good stuff. Okay. If you want to know how to sign up for the childcare startup course, I am giving a 24-hour sign up discount right now for anybody that was on the live. Okay, so if you were on this live workshop the whole way through, you will be able to get the program for $100 off at $395 for a one-time payment. Okay, so you can only do a one-time payment for $395. If that's something that you're interested in, just send me a message, or you can send me an email or whatever, and I will send you that invoice directly. Okay, but if you want the payment plan option for the $495, where you only pay $247 today, because that's easier for you, then that's your option. But if you want to save $100, you would pay the $395 in full today. Okay, it's the same exact thing. You'll visit the website, hit the enroll now under child care startup. Okay, so it's 3 different programs that's on the site that you will see. And you will make your purchase for the $395 by a separate invoice, or you will just pay your payment plan option of the $247, because you kind of need more time. So it's totally up to you. And that program is always ongoing because it's a hybrid course. So you can enroll and sign up in the sign up startup course whenever you want. But you will not get the discount unless you were in on this workshop within the 24 hours. Okay. So does anybody have any questions or answers about any of the mentorship programs, any of the groups, and how we can work together, or any questions in general from
Dominique,
any
I have
of
a
our
question.
programs? Go ahead.
Have you ever worked with any Jamaicans? Because I'm thinking the program is going to be tailor fit to the US. In the Caribbean, in Jamaica, it's different in terms of policies, childcare procedures. You talk about
Yeah, so
funding.
I would
and
highly encourage for anyone that's outside the United States. You guys know, I keep it super real with you. I would highly encourage you to do more of a one-on-one mastermind session. Just me and you directly for anything that's going on direct, opposed to you spending all that money on a program and you don't know if it's going to be tailor fit to your actual program, opposed to just doing a 2-hour virtual live session with me direct. And that's $200. So I would encourage you to do that, because our policies and our procedures, even though childcare is childcare, United States and Jamaica, or just in general outside the US, policies and procedures are different. But I always share, like even some of my Cali clients, our regulations are different, but what you want to implement and the changes that you want by business are also the same. So you can't put those 6 centers in your program or incorporate community marketing in your program the same way we would, but it's always a thought process, and it's always an idea that you can tailor fit for your program. So it's totally up to you.
Thank you so much, Dominic. All the best.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have any other questions or answers?
Hi.
Questions with any answers to?
Hi, I'm Latasha. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi, I'm
Where you
living in
from?
Florida. Florida.
Florida. Okay. I gotta get back to that fun. Yes.
So I have a question. I'm interested in the startup because I'm just been browsing and just kind of considering. So I'm interested in that. And I just wanted to find out like the 2-hour session. Now, I know you explained it, but I didn't quite understand when you said that 2-hour window. What can you do? Is that actually talking with you, or is that?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's a great question. I always get that question too. So how it works is you guys will get access, like once you go into the course and you pay it, whether you do it by payment plan or you want to just pay it in full, whatever you want to do. Once you click and you get logged in, you're gonna get access to all 70 lessons, literally. Right then and there. But the 2-hour session, because you're going to still send over your t-shirt size and all that, the 2-hour session is for me to be just like this with you. So we'll be on Zoom live.
All right.
Yeah, it'll be me and you in Zoom live, and we talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about in your 2 hours. Or like I've had actually all of my startups, and y'all know y'all ones that's on here, they like to do 1 hour, maybe 1 month, and then 4 months down the line, they like to do the second hour, because you're going to have a different set of questions, right? So the same questions that you have now on startup, they're going to get answered, or they're going to get developed. And then once I talk to you the first time, wherever you are, like some people may have just bought their building. So like one of my mentees, we literally did a whiteboard and shared the screen like this, and she purchased our furniture, and we was able to literally like map out all 3 classrooms for her. One of my other clients, she wanted me to physically see the actual building, but she wanted to wait for her next session when she's actually preparing for the state to come in. So it's totally up to you on how you want to use your 2 hours, but it's private, just me and you direct.
Okay. One more question. So with the lessons and things, I guess I want to say like with policies and stuff, is that in there as well, or?
Oh yeah, so all of your everything is automatic. So all of the lesson plans, all of the templates, the business plan, all of the emergency, like all of the fire safety signs you need to get started, the health safety signs, everything that you need is there, and you can edit it.
Okay, all right. But thank you so much.
It's all of my documents from my actual childcare program, and you can edit them for your childcare program. It takes the guesswork out for you. So you don't got to figure out how to sound professional to create your business plan. You don't got to figure out how to sound professional to do your fire exit signs or your health signs, or you get a family handbook, you get an employee handbook template, all of that stuff is in there.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, I'm definitely interested, so I will definitely be contacting you.
Yes, awesome. I look forward to hearing from you. And what's your name?
Latasha.
Latasha. Okay. Awesome. If you have any other questions, however you guys found me, just send me a DM, or you can always send me an email. And I will also send follow-up emails, a mass email once our webinar is over. Okay. But you guys can always go on there. But if you do want to save the $100 for the $395, that will expire, or anybody, that will expire tomorrow, this time at 2:00. Okay. So if you want that one-time payment, just send me a message and I'll send you an invoice over directly to pay the $395. But if you want the payment plan for the $495, once that $100 expires, you'll just pay $247 to get started, and you have access to everything right away. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions about startup, about current childcare providers, about mentorship, any of the programs? You guys can ask. I know y'all be asking some real great questions on the live, and I really, really appreciate everybody joining in today. I truly do, because I always say that's the only way y'all gonna learn, right? You have to take that time out. This is that aspect of really getting ready. This is that aspect of really training your mind. Like, no, I'm taking my Saturday off, or my Saturday time, to invest in me, to learn what I need to learn to grow. And I say that because even I have a mentorship in cosmetology, because I didn't know how to start no barbershop. I didn't know how to own properties or be a property manager. I didn't know how to do any of those things, so in order for those other businesses that I have to grow, I have to invest, I have to learn, so I don't make those mistakes when it's time for me to evict the tenant. Okay. So you have to learn, you have to grow. And one of the best ways to do that is educate your mind. Okay. So if you guys do not have any other questions, feel free to send me a message or a DM. I definitely appreciate everybody joining in. I will make this recording available if you guys want to go back and just kind of, reconnect. It's going to be available for the rest of the weekend. Okay. So you guys can always go back, and I will get you guys that link out in email. So I look forward to meeting some of you guys and have you join into our mentorship program. I'm really, really excited for the second class, because the first one was such a success. And I know you guys will get that good sisterhood, that good energy that y'all need to really press go in y'all childcare programs, because you don't want to lose that burning desire. When you got that burning desire to get open, you will get burnt out. You will get tired. You will get frustrated, but one of the things I know my mentees always shared is, at least I know on Saturdays and Wednesdays, I got a go-to place to vent and learn, to reignite that desire and that fire for my business, because my business is my baby, and as an entrepreneur and owner, you're going to learn there is no quitting. You can't be like, oh, I didn't like this job. Oh, I ain't making enough money yet, I'm gonna quit. No, you better go take a drive. You better take a walk, okay? Because you can do nothing but hit the reset button if you're really gonna be learning and winning and really growing in this game of the early child educational field, because it's $1 million industry and it's money to be made, okay? So have a great day, guys. I'm gonna sprinkle my great good energy on y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed the webinar, and I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.